I'm going to just say a couple of words of introduction. First of all, thank you for coming, and thank you very much for coming, Bill. As those of you, well, all of you know why we're here, and that's to have a more intimate discussion about wrongful conviction. It is Wrongful Conviction Day. Part of the reason for establishing Wrongful Conviction Day was to educate Canadians more broadly about the problems of wrongful conviction and bring attention to the incredible suffering that results for the wrongly convicted, their friends and families and communities. So we are very, very fortunate and grateful that you've come today to share your story with us, and then to also answer questions so that the students get more insights into the problem of wrongful conviction. Many of you have spent some time reading about it or studying about it in classes. And I think that's a wonderful introduction to it, but totally different from hearing firsthand and being able to ask questions from somebody who has spent many years in prison for a crime that they didn't commit. So thank you and welcome. And just so we all know sort of the plan for the next hour, Bill is going to start with a song. Yeah. And then he's going to tell his story for about 20 minutes or so. Yeah. And then at that point we'll open it up so that you can have your questions, and then his story will continue to be told in the question and answer period. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot for coming. Thanks for having me here today. Really, it's I've spoke now at the third one, Wrongful Conviction Day. I spoke somewhere, and I still believe it helps me as much as students in terms of healing and all that kind of stuff. But if you'll indulge me, this is a song I wrote earlier this year called People Say. One, two, three, four. People say that they wanna know what prison's like with nowhere to go. I could say that it's a state of mind, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Just close your eyes and you will see how cold and black loneliness can be. People say on the news they saw me hang to the fire. That's where they got me. But I came up with a transitional plan to UFT with a broken back. Just close your eyes and you will see how cold and black loneliness can be. People say they can relate to I forgave a man I should hate. But just this gouge, I think he understands why I forgave a sick and pitiful man. Just close your eyes and you will see how cold and black loneliness can be. People say their lives they trade just because they would get paid. But used, abused, taken for granted, that's our cost, that's how we're branded. Just close your eyes and you will see how cold and black loneliness can be. People say that they wanna know what prison's like with nowhere to go. Just close your eyes and you will see how cold and black loneliness can be. That really sums up what I try and bring forth when I do these talks. Simple like that. Usually I'm up here with a longer time frame and I get the ramble. But yeah, today is the Wrongful Conviction Day. It's the 5th anniversary of it, which ironically enough too, this year is the 25th anniversary of Innocence Canada, aka ABRIC. They'll always be ABRIC to me, no matter what. But I first came informed about them back in 1993 and 1994 when I was reading trial and going through trial on this. At the time, I probably wasn't much, I was probably your age. Who here is 22? That's all I was when I got sent away. That's when I got arrested. I was just off of another sentence that I did. I did a robbery when I was 18. And I did reduce less than 2 years probation. And the 2 years probation ended about 2 months before I got arrested on this. But over that, I wasn't an angel in my younger days. I thieved a little bit and partied around a little bit, as young men do sometimes. And but at that time, I was really trying to find, like most of you, where do I belong in this world? Where can I contribute? That kind of idea. Where am I gonna live? What career am I gonna have? Home, family. Probably same kinds of things you think about. And at the time, I was planning to go to DeVry University at the time out in Calgary. I had things pretty much arranged in the summer when all this happened. I was set to go that fall. I was going in for training for a forensic accountant. All things. Anyway, June '93 come around, I was staying with my brother and my sister at the time. And going through the Futures program. I wasn't making much money, but I had enough to pay room and board and help them out and babysit them, their kids, my nieces and nephew. And that Saturday night, June 26th, Paulie, my brother, was at a baseball tournament and he went and had me watch his kids that evening. They were already bathed and fed, so I just had to make sure they got to bed, which always was. Which always gave me time to do my homework, that kind of thing. Nice quiet house. And then my sister-in-law come back at about 9:30 that night. Thinking nothing of anything. She did some laundry and watched baseball with me and went to bed about 11. A couple friends of mine come over, stayed with me until 1:30, and then we went out walking around our reservation and see if there's any parties going on, see who was out and about, and nobody was. And I got back home at 3 in the morning and I fell asleep on the couch. About 7 o'clock that morning, that's when my sister-in-law come barreling down the stairs that Sunday, screaming about Val's dead, and calling 911. And I went upstairs and I met my brother coming down the stairs. We went up back to the girls' room there, and Val's blankets were pulled back, and she was laying with her back to the door at the foot of the bed. on her side, all curled up somehow like this. Puke all over where she was sleeping, all over her pillow, all over the floor. And then my brother rolled her over onto her back, and it wasn't, when you grab somebody's arm, it's a limp arm, you know what I mean? You grab somebody, no, her whole body turned all at once. Rigor mortis, turned all at once, her entire body. Bangs were in her eyes, puke all on here and down in pajamas. And Polly tried to give her CPR. I had to stop him. I had to put my arms around him and tell him, Polly, she's gone, man. She's dead. And then we put her on a blanket in the living room, waited for the official people to show up. So, official people showed up, police and coroner, ambulance, and all this kind of stuff. And family even was there. Grandparents, I think, were there. My grandmother and my mom, stuff like that. And then they took, the police officer took statements from me, Paul and Kim. They basically said the same thing that I said that night, the night before. And then they come back, they took the body, took Valen, come back about noon, about 12:30 maybe. Kicked everybody out of the house except for me, Paul and Kim. And two uniform officers stayed with us for the rest of the afternoon, followed us around, stayed outside the bathroom, somebody was in the bathroom, watched us, you know. 6:30 that night, about 6 cops, 6 detectives, big guys. I was pretty big. I wasn't as big as I am now, but I was like 219 pounds. Working shape. I mean, I wasn't a bodybuilder or anything, but I was a working shape guy. 6'4", 220, pretty good, you know. So I was sitting on the couch, didn't even have my shoes on. And Paul and Kim were over in the armchair. That's when they called me over to them. They were by the front door. They came in the front door. That's when Rob Wilton announced, "You're under arrest for the first-degree murder of Valen Johnson. You're further charged with aggravated sexual assault upon Valen Johnson." And to make a long story short, of the effect of that, I would be on the next 4 years of pretty much hysterics, right through the trial and everything. Like I was totally gone, up here, upstairs, and here. I was functional. You know what I mean? I was coherent and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't daily kind of blah. But there was about a 2-week period when I was first arrested where I was in a hole under suicide watch, wearing a canvas gown on suicide watch, and for about 2 weeks I didn't sleep. Cried every day, wept every day. And that's where I'd spend the most of the next 14 months waiting trial the following year. They kept me largely in segregation for the year leading up to the trial. I'd say at least a good 6 months, 8 months, all told. Not constant, but all told, about 8 months in solitary, where I received death threats, both from the street and within the prison. There is a hierarchy of crime within prisons, within convicts' ranks, and mine was the worst one. Mine is pretty much a death sentence. Killing a kid and molesting him, that's pretty much a death sentence. And it usually comes out of a prejudicial science, usually. If you're charged with it, you must be guilty of it. That's the sad truth of wrongful convictions, of all these prejudicial factors. Usually coming out of the court of public opinion. So I would wait for trial. So trial came about September 1994. I turned 24 during the trial. I would spend my 23rd to my 35th birthday in prison for this. Trial began. I was Dead Man Walking. Ever see that movie, Dead Man Walking? So, 3 weeks the trial went on. There wasn't really special anything that about Charles Smith in particular, like I vaguely remember him being this kingpin pathologist. But I don't recall anything about him being this ultimate one, you know what I mean? At the time, because I was worrying about staying alive. So really, he was just a suit to me when he took the stand. Just another suit. But the entire city was against me when the trial began. The entire court, jail, everybody in the jail, convict and staff, was against me. And all the staff in the courthouse was against me. The cop that took me up and down from the holding cell to the courtroom was against me. Then the trial unfolded. And pretty much put it simply, there were 4 pathologists involved. 2 on the Crown side, 2 on the defense side. Smith and Rizaya on the Crown side. Ferris and Jaffe on my side. But in the end, things were deferred to Smith because he was the world only, not just world leading, the world only forensic pediatric pathologist. Only one in the world. A lot of influence, just having that title. But everything was deferred to Smith, even though there were strong opinions to argue at the time from Ferris and Jaffe on my side. Even their own conclusion at the time questioned if my niece was molested. But everything became moot because everything got deferred to Smith. So, but as the trial went on, the mood of the public seemed to change, at least in my opinion, it did, as the trial went on. From absolute guilt to what the hell's this now? What's going on? Did something not right here? But it was pretty much too late. It was too late. If you accuse somebody what I was accused of, the moment it comes out of your mouth, it's too late for them. And that's the sad truth about prejudices and mob mentality. So the trial come about, and when I look back, like I could have brought slides here and showed you this or that, whatever. But I was witness to many constitutional violations. And there should have been a mistrial because of the actions of the judge. When they went into deliberating, they left deliberating about 2 in the afternoon, 2:30 maybe. Come back about 6 with a legal question. Come back about 9 with another one. Then come back about 10 o'clock. And they told the judge that they didn't think they'd be able to come to a verdict that night. That's what they told him. The judge looked at the jury and interfered with the legal process, as far as I'm concerned. He told them to do what they can to come up with a verdict that night. He pressured them to come up with a verdict. No matter whatever reason they said, you know, they looked for hotels, you can find any for many thousands of kilometers, even into Michigan, as far as Flint, they said they looked, from Sault Ste. Marie. You couldn't find no hotel room anywhere, no motel, no sleazy little place even. But he pressured them, do what you can to come up with a verdict tonight. Less than an hour later, first-degree murder in the process of sexual assault. I was sentenced on the spot, life 25. Oddly enough, 2000 June that just passed was my date for what would have been, I would have been turned down for full parole. I would have been turned down this year. This is the 25th year. I would have been turned down. So you see, in the end, what it did cost me was a lifetime already. I'm 48, I was 22 in this time. I got no career. I might have a home, but I got a family. No, that's not exactly true either. I got my mother and I got some friends, stuff like that, but I don't got a family of my own. I don't have kids, I don't have children. All those opportunities that most people take for granted, that you may not recognize at your young age, was ripped away from you. Every hope that, imagine that, every hope that you have from here on in your life, God, you're sitting in fucking jail cell doing life. For something you know you didn't do, but in the end, it wasn't even something that I didn't do. It was a question of nobody did it, in my case. Nobody did it. Nobody molested my niece. Nobody murdered her. I shouldn't even have been arrested, but yet the rest is on the record to this day. That's over my head for the rest of my life. And that only tells me that this could happen to me again.
This might be a good point, if you're okay with
Yeah.
it, to open it up to, because that sort of gives the
Okay.
overview, and
Nice
then
idea,
if
yes.
you want to start to ask questions now,
Yeah.
other pieces of the story will inevitably filter in.
Yeah. Anybody have questions so far? Nobody?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here? Okay.
I just have a question about your legal representation. I'm wondering whether or not, like, you would speak towards whether your representatives were adequate enough during your trial.
Well, he's dead now. He became a judge after this, not long after this. He died on his own bench from what I understand, a heart attack on his bench. But, so I'm gonna keep this as simple as possible. It's not that I don't think he wanted to give me a good defense or anything. I went through legal aid, so I got the best defense money could buy. I'll leave it at that. Because I don't think it's right to speak bad about the dead. I'll leave it at that.
Go ahead.
Did you ever think about a plea deal while facing the charges just to get out of incarceration?
No, not once did I ever consider it. It was vaguely put to me, but nothing specific. There was no official offer, but my junior counsel come to me and mentioned, what if there was an offer made? I told her to sell it if I stick it. It's a little harsher, mind you, but.
Makes sense if you know you're innocent.
Eh?
Makes sense if you know you're innocent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it, I really don't know if the Crown ever entertained within himself to offer me anything. I don't know. But there was nothing official made to it.
When prisoners are released from prison, often they're given different programs and services to help them reintegrate into society, and exonerees typically don't have access to those. Did you have access to any, and if not, are there any that you would like to see implemented that would be helpful?
Well, actually, you know what, you're right about that. There are no outlets or resources for wrongly convicted coming out. I was fortunate. I did have some through John Howard. When I directly first got out, they helped me with some little bit of counseling, little integration counseling, that kind of stuff. But personally, the majority of my support came from AIDWIC.
I'll just jump in. AIDWIC is the Association in Defense of the Wrongly Convicted, which is now called Innocence Canada. But for people who maybe haven't taken wrongful conviction, that's what that acronym is.
Yeah.
It's the old name for Innocence Canada.
Yeah, yeah, and because it'll always be Edwick to me, that's why I always say that. But not out of disrespect what they are now.
Oh, sure, no, yes,
Yeah.
none taken, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what we were talking about with the Edwick
Okay.
acronym.
Yeah, so, but Edwick really helped me on a very personal level with the many volunteers. The Director of Client Services, Winwar, she still continues to be my biggest supporter, I think. Yeah. The many volunteer students that were there, going through there those 2-3 years I was in Toronto then. The various lawyers, various contacts helped me. One of the lawyers at the time, Ron Rose, introduced me to his dentist. And his dentist introduced me, made introductions, and got me into the transitional year program at U of T, which I was there from 2006 to spring 2007. And that's what I talked about in my school, going to U of T. Yeah. They helped me with that, and they really cushioned me and make sure that I succeeded. You know what I mean? Like, they were, far enough I'm concerned, they went above beyond from what I even expected. You know what I mean? Because looking back, I don't know how I survived those first few years out. I really don't. I cannot fathom that now. Because I just come out, thrown right into the press, fresh out of prison, going to U of T, fresh off a back operation in December of 2005, 3 months after I got out, I was under knife. Back operation, which I'm still healing from actually to today. So yeah, it was pretty much Edwick that tuitioned me. As far as more generally accessible things, I would love to see an avenue for them to access John Howard, at least, you know what I mean? Something for them, because even though I was wrongly convicted, I still went through the norm of prison. I experienced the norm of it. And I've said this in other talks, and I'll say it here too. There is no rehabilitation in prisons. All they create is feral adults. If you could wrap your head around a concept like that. Hope that answers.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Everybody?
So obviously, like, nothing can compensate for the suffering that you endured, like, emotionally, physically when you were in prison, but, did you find that the compensation you received when you were exonerated was adequate, and like, how much did financial compensation matter to you,
Well,
during your exoneration?
it matters, but it don't either. Like, it's, because money can't heal nothing. Only I can heal it. And the only way I can heal it is living with it every day. You know what I mean? Dealing with every client. Sometimes it's every goddamn day. You understand? And some days it's not so bad. Some days are pretty good. I'm just relearning how to live. I'm learning how to decompress after all of this, which is a very difficult thing to do when you're dealing with PTSD. You know what I mean? Because that in itself is like a pressure cooker. Syndrome, it just keeps building and that analogy just came to me in the last 12 months about that. Like, how can I explain to somebody about that? And that's what it's like. I'm like a pressure cooker. Where we all are, really, but my experience seemed to intensify that I better be aware of certain triggers, certain actions, certain words, certain scenarios, certain environments that I have to be aware of to make sure that those dials are adjusted properly to let that steam out. Because if I don't, I could get myself into trouble. Just like any other ex-con. You know what I mean? Because everybody, wrongly convicted or not, they are like that. They are traumatized, they are tortured, and if you don't know how, if if I didn't understand on a semi-conscious level what I was going through, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And I recognize that when I'm saying certain things. Even though I do get angry, I get very angry at times. And I do get threatening.